divided by 0, you cannot divide by 0. So again, undefined means you cannot divide by 0. Okay, so these are your answers to these questions. Let me just draw arrows here so we don't forget our arrows. Again, follow the criteria. You may have to break it down part by part, but follow the criteria. Okay? Question number 3. It says a monthly cell phone plan charges a base fee of $20 plus it says 0.05 per text message. Write an equation to represent the cost C of the phone based on the number of text messages sent. So we talked about it. I have a basic fee of $20. Okay. I have a price of, and this is 5 cents per text message. Right? And I want to write an equation. Okay. So the cost is C. So this cost is going to be C. What is the cost? The number of text messages is T. So we don't know how many texts, but we know it represents T. So my cost is going to be 5 cents per text message. Okay. And then they want to know what's the base fee. So how much do I pay up front? So I'm paying $20. So guys, this is my equation. I pay $20, and it's 5 cents per text message, and that is the cost of the phone. Okay. Question 4. It says write an equation for the line whose slope is -4 and passes through the point 6, -1. So we have two forms we're going to write this in. We're going to write this in point slope form, or we're going to write this in slope intercept form. So the better way to do it first is to do point slope form. And again, point slope form, how to do that is y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. Okay, that is the way you do it. Some of the information given is the slope is -4, so I know m is my slope, that is going to be my -4. I have a point, 6 and -1. This is my m. This has got to be my x1, and this is going to be my y1. So again, you have your x1 and your y1, you just fill them in. And it's pretty simple. My y1 is -1, so this is going to be y minus -1. I have my x minus, my slope is going to be 6. Okay? The only change we're going to make, and we talked about this, when you have two negatives, they turn into positive. So this is y plus 1 equals, and I'm sorry, I forgot the equal sign up here, -4 parentheses x minus 6. So this is my answer for point slope form. Okay? Slope intercept form. Within slope intercept form, you can actually use point slope form to find slope intercept form. So I'm going to take my answer from point slope form, and then I'm going to just simply distribute. So my -4 times x is -4x. My -4 times my -6, because they're two negatives, they give me a positive 24. I bring my equal sign down, I bring my y plus 1. Slope intercept form, just to be clear, slope intercept form is y equals mx plus b. In order to get that, the y by itself, I have to subtract 1. I subtract 1 from this side. I get my answer, which is y equals -4x plus 23. And how did I get 23 again? I did 24 minus 1, and I got 23. So again, this is my slope intercept form, and this is my point slope form. Okay? Number 5. Tanya is making homemade greeting cards. The data table below represents the amount she spent in dollars f of x in terms of the numbers of cards she made. Okay? So they want you to write a linear function f of x that represents the data. So again, we talked about this. In order to find a function, you have to find a slope. Okay? And again, in this case, this is write a linear function. It doesn't specify whether you have to do point slope. It doesn't specify whether you have to do slope intercept. So in this case, you choose what you want to choose. So I'm going to choose 2 points. I can choose this point, and I'll choose this point. But again, you can choose any points that this will work. I'm going to make this x, I'm going to make this y. So I'll write them out so we can see them. One is 6, 9. The other point is 10, 12. 12, 10. I'm going to do the same thing. Y2 minus Y1 over X2 minus X1. I'm going to label them so we see them. X1, Y1, X2, Y2. And I'll just label them. So this is 12 minus 9. And this is 10 minus 6. 12 minus 9 is 3. 10 minus 6 is 4. So I know my slope is 3 over 4. Okay? Whether I use any other points, I'm still going to get 3 over 4. So based on that, if I'm writing a linear function, I know it's going to be f of x, okay, equals, again, we could do y equals mx plus b, or we can do the other one, but let's just do y equals mx plus b so we can see it. This is going to be 3 over 4x plus, now, we have to figure out what b is. Okay, a couple ways we can do it. We can type it in the calculator, or we can do point slope form. So let's just do point slope form so you see it. So again, we will do y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. My slope is 3 over 4. Y minus 9, which is y1, parentheses, sorry, x minus 6. We can do our work. So we can distribute. So this is going to be 3 over 4x. Now it's a little tricky. You have 3 over 4 times negative 6. This is where you can break out your calculator. Your calculator will help you out with this question. So I'm going to break my calculator out. So I have 3 over 4 times 6. It gives me an answer, it gives me 4.5. Now, one mistake I just made just now was that I put a 6, but that's actually a negative 6. 3 over 4 times negative 6. So it gives me negative 4.5. Okay? And then when I bring everything else over, I got the y minus 9. I'm going to scroll down again. And again, I want to bring this to the slope-intercept form. I'm going to add 9. That cancels out. I'm going to add 9. Same idea. Negative 4.5 plus 9 actually gives me positive 4.5. So I now have that cancels out. Y equals 3 over 4x plus 4.5. But the question asks you for f of x. So all I'm simply going to do is change my y into f of x. Okay, equals 3 over 4x plus 4.5. And again, the reason I changed it is because it asks for f of x, which is also y. So the question reads, explain what the slope and y-intercept of f of x means in this given context. So I know my slope was 3 over 4. I know my y-intercept or b was 4.5. So I'm going to look at the context and see what this means. Okay, I'm making homemade greeting cards. The table below shows represents the amount she spent in dollars in terms of what she's making in X. So it says X represents the number of cards she made. If X represents the number of cards she makes, X, it says 3 over 4. So let's see what that represents. Okay. And I will be going back and forth in between this and the answer key so we can kind of speed things through. Okay? So the y-intercept is 4.5. This represents her startup cost. So this represents how much money she starts with. So in this case, she's starting with $4.50. Okay? So the 3 over 4, this represents the amount of money she spends on each card she makes. So 3 over 4, she spends about, and we'll turn this into a fraction, 75 cents per card. So she spends 75 cents per card, and she started out with $4.50. Okay? And again, I'm going to go back and forth to the answer, so I'm not always writing everything, so we can speed through the video a little bit. Okay, next question. Which inequality represents by the graph below? The first thing I'm going to look at is to see which direction am I going. Whether am I going up or down? So I'm going to go to the line. I'm going to kind of draw like this, and it's like I'm going down. So since I'm going down, my symbol has to be less than. They're all less than, so we didn't eliminate much. Okay. Second thing, I'm going to look at this line. Is this line a straight line, or is this line a dotted line? So straight or dotted, look, it is dotted. So it's no equal to sign. So that also eliminated nothing. So now my next step is to look at two things. I'm going to look at the y-intercept. I'm looking, the y-intercept is at right about here, a little higher than that, right about there. So that's negative, that's positive 1. So now they all have positive 1s. So now I looked at 3 of these aspects. That's what I see. So now I got to look at the graph. So I'm going to actually look at the graph and do some counting. So if I'm here, right, and again, the size is a little bit off. I went, let me erase this so you can see it better. It seems like I went, and I'll go here so you can see it, and I'll go there. It seems like I went down 2 over 1 to the right. So it seems like I went down 2, so I'll go down 2, that's a negative, and I went over 1 to the right. Okay? Or I went up 2, so in this case I went down and to the right. In this case I went up 2 and 1 to the left. So this tells me something. Either way I go, it's still going to be negative, because negative 2 divided by 1, negative 2, 2 divided by negative 1, negative 2, so my answer in this case is going to be 2. So when you look at this question, these are the things you're going to analyze. You're going to analyze the y-intercept. You're going to analyze whether you're going up, left, or right. Okay. This question was tricky. Let's take a look at it. Okay. Just to remember something, when you answer this question, split them up into 2 separate ones. So you're going to split this up like this, so you can see. Okay, split them up. So this one says f of x was 2 from 0 to 4. So when x is from 0 to 4, x is at 2. So right there to right there, x is at 2. So y is 2. So y has to be 2. That doesn't work, because y should be a straight line. So from 0 to 4, y is 2. Okay, this might work, so let's see. We'll stick with this one. It's at 2. We'll stick with this one. And this one, it's only at 2 here. It's only at 2 at 4. So we just eliminated 2 of the answers, okay? So now, here's your key to the rest of this question. We now have to look at the sign. So I'll make it a little bigger so we can see it. That said equal to, and that says equal to. So if it says equal to, then we have to have a closed circle. So there needs to be a closed circle on the 4. I look at this one, this is an open circle. Look at this one, this is a shaded circle. So my answer is going to be 2. But just to confirm, we're going to look at the other choice as well, just to make sure that Mr. Swenson didn't make a mistake in this question. Okay. This right here that's an open circle. So when I go to the 6, there needs to be an open circle there. So when I go to the 6 up here, there goes my open circle. So now we've confirmed that is your answer. Okay? All right, question 8. A company that manufactures radios first pays a startup cost, then spends a certain amount of money to manufacture each radio. The cost of manufacturing R radios is given by the function C of R equals 5.25R plus 125. Then the value 525 best represents what? Let's see. Is it the startup cost? Well, what's the startup cost? The startup cost is the original amount, how much it costs. So that cannot be 5.25. That is going to be 125. Okay? So we got to know if the cost of manufacturing radios is given by the function. So the cost of manufacturing radios has to be R. Okay? So let's take a look. Second one, the profit earned in this case, the profit earned from the sale of one radio, that could be 525. Because if one radio is represented as R, I could do 5.25 times 1, and that will give me 5.25. So that could be possibly our answer. Let's look at the rest. The amount spent to manufacture each radio. How much does it cost to manufacture each radio? It says the cost of manufacturing R radios is given by the function. That could be 5.25 too. Let's see. And it says the average number of radios manufactured. Well, we don't know. That's how much radios we have, so that's not it. So that's not it, and that's not it. So let's just talk about the profit earned or the amount spent. Okay? And we'll quickly go back to the answers so you can get a good way of understanding it, okay? So, in this case, we know that each radio is the amount spent, okay? So, just to be clear, it is the amount spent to manufacture each radio. So, we know one radio costs $5.25, okay? The reason it wasn't this question, it says the profit earned. So, one radio is $5.25, but we got to forget that you're also paying $1.25. So, technically speaking, it is $5.25 plus $1.25. So just be careful. This was a tricky question because if you didn't really look at the question, this is what took place. Okay. This is filling all the big ideas from concept 3. Got it right here. All points, because we're talking about graphs, so all points on the graph are the solutions. Solutions are what make the equation true. Okay. Not gonna spend much time on that, but you know all the points in the solution work to find the solution. Okay, explain the effects on the graph of a line based on the following changes to the question. So, a few graphs on the calculator if you're stuck. So, if I have a slope and I multiply by 2, what do you think happens? Well, let's take a look. So, in this case, the graph gets steeper. So, let's try it. So, I'm going to turn my calculator on. I'm going to press y equals. If my first slope is 2x, this is what the graph looks like. If I multiply by 2, so 2 times 2, which would be 4, let's see what happens to the graph. That was my first graph, that was my second graph. So it got much steeper. And guys, for those who are struggling with steeper means higher, like more worse to climb. So if you had a choice, if you were walking up a hill and you had a choice of 2 hills, the steeper one is that hill you don't want to walk up because that's that hill you're going to burn a lot of energy on, okay? Second one, the y-intercept is decreased by 4. So just simply the graph moves down 4 units. So what does that look like? So I'm going to take the same question, right? I'm going to make this 2x plus 4. And I'm going to make this 2x. It says decrease. So decrease means minus. So 4 minus 4 is 0. Let's see what happens to the two graphs. That's my first graph. That is my second graph. So simply moves down 4. How could you tell? I'll make it a little bigger so you can see. Guys, if you look here and you look here, it went down 4. Okay? Same idea, guys. The slope is divided by -1. The graph changes directions, and the y-intercept is increased by 10. So if it decreased by 4, it moves down 4. If it increases by 10, it moves up 10. Okay? Okay. Okay. So guys, in this question, just simply plug it into the graph, you'll get a good understanding. On a set of axes to draw the graph of the equation y equals 2x plus 8. And again, you start here at the y-intercept. So the y-intercept is 8. I'm going to go up to 8 on the y-intercept. I'm going to start my graph. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I started right here at 8. I'm going to take my slope. My slope is 2 over a number, so that has to be 2 over 1. So I'm going to go up 2 over 1. Now, something I want you to remember. 2 over 1 is the same as -2 over -1. So remember, 2 negatives give you a positive. So you can do the same thing. You can go down 2 and over 1 to the left. Okay? Down 2 over 1 to the left. Down 2 over 1 to the left. Okay? Down 2 over 1 to the left. When I'm done, I'm going to draw my line. Okay? Try to draw your line a little straighter than mine. My line's a little not straight. So Name 3 solutions to this equation. Explain your answer based on the graph and algebraically. So 3 answers. I'm going to just pick 3 points on the graph. That's all you have to do. So Mr. Swenson in his answer key picked 3 questions on the graph. Let's take a look at the 3 questions he picked. Okay. Solution 08 is on the line. How do you check? You replace, this is X, this is Y. You replace it. It works. Okay. Same thing with these 3 other solutions. You replace the X and Y and it works. Okay. So that's one way to answer this question algebraically. So again, I pick a point. So let's say I pick the point 08, just to show you. This is my X, this is my Y. I take the equation. I replace the Y with 8. I replace the X with 0. 2 times 0 is 0. 0 plus 8 is 8. That's one way to check it. And you're going to do the same thing with 2 other points. So you could pick this point right here. You could pick this point right here. You could pick this point right here. And you get all the same answers. A couple more questions to go. And you check them. Okay. Write an equation of a line and slope-intercept form that meets the following criteria. I think this is the same idea from before. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay. Plug them in. So again, I'm going to label them. Okay, I'm going to label them. So it's going to be 6 minus negative 7. And guys, we did this before. I'm not going to do it again. Okay. Plug it in. Once you get the slope, change it over. Okay. Graph inequality below instead of axis. Let's talk about inequality. So you got to get y by itself. So in order to get y by itself, you have to get rid of this negative 5x. In order to get rid of negative 5x, you're going to add 5x to both sides. So now you're going to simply get y is greater than or equal to 5x plus 5. Okay. Same way we graphed that equation before. I'm going to go in the graph. I'm going to go to positive 5. My slope is 5 over 1. I'm going to go up 5, 2, 3, 4, 5 over 1. We talked about it. If your slope is 5 over 1, there's also negative 5 over negative 1, because 2 negatives give you a positive. So we're going to go down 5 over 1 to the left. Okay, that's what that means. Down 5 over 1 to the left. I'm going to draw my line. I'm going to look at the sign. The sign says it's greater than. So greater than is going to go up. Okay, that's how you know greater than. Greater than goes upwards. And I want to know, is this a solution? Negative 2, negative 5. Negative 2, 1, negative 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because I didn't draw my graph properly, let's take a quick look. Is this a solution? It is. Okay? It's on the solid line. So once it's on, oh, I did make one mistake, I'm sorry. Because it's equal to, it's a solid line. If it was not equal to, so if it was just this, no equal to sign, it's going to be a dotted line. Please don't forget that. Okay? So it is a solution. Last question. Important question. Company produces bottles of soda at a rate of 32 bottles per hour. They begin to produce bottles when they first open for the day, and after 2 hours, they have until 40 bottles in stock. How many bottles were in stock when they opened? So we're going to look at it from this perspective. I want to know they produce how many bottles per hour. So they produce 32 bottles per hour. Okay. So we know how much they produce per hour, but we don't know what they started with. So when they opened, what did they did not start with 142. So don't think that they started 142. We don't know. So we don't know the beat. But we know after 2 hours they had a certain amount of bottles. So after 2 hours, they had 142 bottles. So in order to answer this question, we kind of have to plug it in. So the hours, we know it was 2 hours, right? So in 2 hours, they had 142 bottles. So let's see something. Let's see what they produced. Okay. So what we have to do, we have to kind of solve. So 32 times 2 is 64. We don't know how many bottles they started with. That's what we're looking for. But we know after 2 hours they had 142 bottles. We minus 64 because that's what we're trying to solve for. So again, 142 bottles minus 64, because they only really produce 64 bottles an hour. So now we know they started out with 78 bottles. And again, I'll explain. I know we're a little fast just now. They produce bottles at rate of 32 bottles per hour. They began to produce bottles when they first opened for the day, and after 2 hours, they had 142 bottles. So we know after 2 hours, they had 142 bottles. But we only know in 2 hours, they only produce 64 of those bottles. They can't go past 64, but they have a total of 142. So we know they started out with something. So in order to figure it out, we had to figure out what they started out with. So now we know they started out with 78 bottles. Okay, so if I wrote my equation, my linear equation is going to be y equals 32b plus 74. Okay. Oh, actually, I'll do that differently because this is your b. Okay. And it said open hour, so this should be your h. So again, our first answer was 74. It says use your model to predict the number of bottles in stock at the end of a 6-hour shift. So if I know they started out with 74 bottles and they produce 32 an hour, and I want to know how much they're going to have in 6 hours, I'm going to multiply the 6 by 32 plus the 74. So I have my 32 times 6 times 6, which is 192. So that's how many bottles they produced in 6 hours, plus they started out with the 74 bottles. So I know in a shift they are going to produce 266 bottles. That's a prediction based on an end of a 6-hour shift. Okay? So again, questions, concerns. This is what we do. Let me make sure I did that right. 32 times 6 plus 74. That's our answers. Okay? Questions. You should be fine. You should do your work. Oh, I think I made a mistake. What did I do? Oh. What did I say? 78. Let me do that math again. Make sure I did it right. 142. So make sure. 142 minus 64. I'm bugging. 78 bottles. I put 74. So this should be 78. Okay? So again, what I did just now, I went back and checked my work. So this should be 78. So again, this is 78. So I'm going to add 4 more bottles, so this should really be 270. Okay? So same explanation, but I just blew off my math. So the 142 plus the 64 was 78. Okay? So my question has 78 in it. When I multiply, it should be 270. Guys, please study tonight. If you have any questions, please email me. Okay, I believe Mr. Swenson will be in early tomorrow. If you have any questions, good luck. Please study. Have a good night.